Macquarie Island, an isolated island in the middle of the Southern Ocean near Australia, was once home to thousands of rats and millions of penguins living side by side. But no one could have imagined how terrifying the situation would eventually become. At first, nobody paid much attention to what was happening on this tiny island. Everything seemed normal. But slowly, scientists began to realize that an environmental disaster beyond imagination was unfolding there. It was a situation where the natural balance of the ecosystem had completely collapsed. And whenever humans interfere with nature in this way, the consequences can become catastrophic. Macquarie Island became a real-life example of that truth. The people there witnessed with their own eyes how everything changed. But the question is, what eventually happened to the thousands of rats? Did they survive? Or were they wiped out completely? And what kind of environmental disaster struck this island? Today, in this video, we'll uncover the full truth behind the tragic story of this mysterious island. Located in the Southern Ocean south of Australia, Macquarie Island is a small, remote, and incredibly beautiful island. But the dark chapter of its history began in 1810, when sailors first discovered it. At that time, the island was like paradise for penguins and seals. There were no natural predators, so they lived peacefully and fearlessly. Covered with lush vegetation and thick grass, the island provided a perfect safe haven. But gradually, European hunters began arriving there. Driven by greed for seal meat and fur, they hunted relentlessly. Not only seals, they also started hunting birds and penguins. By 1918, the island's seal population had nearly been wiped out. However, the real disaster had not yet begun. Unknowingly, the hunters' ships brought rats to the island. Whenever the ships docked, the rats would escape and spread rapidly across the entire island. At first, nobody considered these tiny creatures a serious threat. But within a short time, the situation changed dramatically. The rats adapted perfectly to their new environment and reproduced at an unbelievable rate. Within just a few weeks, their population exploded into the thousands. Since there were no predators to control them, the rat population quickly spiraled out of control. Soon, the entire island was overrun. The rats invaded bird nests, destroying eggs and killing chicks. The birds had never faced such predators before, so they became easy targets. But it wasn't only the birds that suffered. The rats also destroyed fruits, flowers, and seeds, preventing new plants from growing. Slowly, the island's lush green ecosystem began disappearing. At first, the hunters didn't fully understand the damage, but when they noticed rats destroying stored food and bird populations collapsing, they realized the severity of the problem. To solve it, they made another disastrous decision. They introduced cats to the island, believing the cats would hunt the rats and restore balance. Instead, this triggered a second catastrophe. Rather than chasing rats, the cats preferred the easier prey, birds. They climbed rocky cliffs, raided nests, and hunted seabirds with ease. Catching birds required far less effort than hunting rats. And so, one mistake led to another. The cat population grew rapidly. Every year, these cats killed nearly 60,000 seabirds. As a result, multiple bird species disappeared completely from the island. Eventually, the island became dominated by rats and cats. But the disaster still wasn't over. During long sea voyages, sailors often carried rabbits as a food source. European settlers also released rabbits onto the island, thinking they would provide food in the future. But once again, there were no natural predators to control them. As a result, alongside the rats and cats, the rabbit population exploded. The rabbits began eating shrubs and small plants, the very vegetation where albatrosses built their nests and hid from predators. Once the vegetation disappeared, the birds became easy prey for the cats, The rabbits also devoured the island's grasslands. Gradually, the entire island started turning into a barren wasteland. At one point, it reportedly looked like a giant golf course. But the destruction went even deeper. The rabbits didn't just eat plants, they dug up roots and created underground burrows. This weakened the soil, causing severe erosion and landslides. Many bird nests were destroyed in these collapses. In 2006, a major landslide struck the eastern side of the island, burying and killing countless penguins. Meanwhile, the cats continued thriving because birds and rabbits provided easy food. But rabbits reproduced even faster. A single rabbit could produce between 6 and 12 babies in just 1 month, and within 4 months, those babies became fully mature adults. Within only a few years, the rabbit population surpassed 100,000. Now, rats, cats, and rabbits together were destroying the island's entire ecosystem. The green vegetation nearly vanished. Birds stopped returning to the island. Around 15 to 20 bird species disappeared during that period. An island once rich with biodiversity had become almost completely ruined. Finally, when the Australian and Tasmanian governments fully realized the scale of the disaster, they launched a massive restoration mission. Their first step was to remove the cats. Traps were placed across the island, and over the course of 2 years, around 5,000 cats were hunted and killed. But once the cats disappeared, another problem emerged. The rabbit population exploded even more dramatically. The rabbits consumed nearly 70% of the island's vegetation, creating a crisis worse than before. So Australia and Tasmania launched another enormous operation, this time costing nearly $24 million. The goal was simple: completely eliminate the rabbits and rats from the island. First, scientists targeted the rabbits. Since rabbits love carrots, researchers developed an unusual strategy. They injected carrots with a virus called rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus. After eating the poisoned carrots, the virus spread rapidly through the rabbits' bodies, killing them one by one. The method proved devastatingly effective. Within days, nearly 80% of the rabbit population died. Still, some rabbits and countless rats remained alive. To eliminate them completely, scientists initiated one final massive operation. Using helicopters, they spread nearly 300 tons of poison across the island, carefully avoiding areas populated by penguins and seals. The results were brutal. Most of the remaining rats and rabbits were wiped out. The mission was carried out during winter, when many birds migrate away from the island, reducing the risk to wildlife. Teams also collected dead animals regularly to prevent birds from eating poisoned carcasses. Even then, a few rats and rabbits managed to survive in hiding. So specially trained dogs were brought in. These dogs were trained to detect only rats and rabbits, not penguins or seals. One by one, the dogs located the hidden survivors, and scientists removed them. Finally, after years of relentless effort, Macquarie Island was declared free of rats, rabbits, and cats in 2014. The island that had once been turning into a wasteland slowly came back to life. Green vegetation returned. Lost bird species began returning once again. But this raises an important question. If humans had never made those mistakes in the beginning, would this beautiful island have ever faced such a devastating catastrophe? And would such extreme and cruel measures ever have been necessary? Even today, are we still repeating the same mistakes around the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories. See you in the next episode. Thank you.